They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Carlos Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
When the games are live, so are we. Welcome to a Monday edition of InGame Live. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez. With me tonight is my consigliere, Dave Sharapan. Yeah. We are going to hammer all of the live action. And Dave's nodding because he knows I'm one of the few guys who actually says it right. Forget about it, right, Dave? Are you excited? Let me be one of the last guys to mention to you Happy New Year, Happy Three Kings Day, if you celebrate that. We got a lot of action here to discuss. I know it's Black Monday in the NFL. We'll set the deck for Wild Card Weekend. We'll set the deck for the college football semifinals, where it looks like you have a play in the game on Thursday, where your Penn State Nittany Lions have a date with the Fighting Irish. And so, you're already dressed for the occasion, but we're going to be focused on the NBA, the NHL. We're going to have Joe Madden join the show a little bit later on in this hour, and we're going to have our guy, the raging redhead, Cam Stewart, in the 9 o'clock hour. But Dave, help me here. We got 2 games already on ice in the NHL. We got 4 or 5 games going on in the association. I am looking for live bets. How are you doing? Let's get 2025 off to a good start, brother man.
Happy New Year to you as well, your family. Love the great pictures you sent. The youngin is looking good. Yeah, that was fun. New Year's was great. I was down in Arizona, went to the Fiesta Bowl with my nephews, their first Penn State game ever. Brother Smoke and I took the boys. It was so much fun. And I'm all in anyway, but having your team in it and being in the Final Four has been electric. It's been fun. The line is right. Notre Dame has to be favored after beating Georgia, and the way they did it with really not playing their best. Offensively challenged, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff. But like yesterday closes the book on the NFL regular season, which opens up the pages to a lot of people who are like, hey, I'm going to do a little more NBA betting. Okay, you got a nice full slate tonight. Limited college, but there's 4 hockey games that are going on too. So, and a big one. The Avalanche are hosting the Panthers. Yeah, that's a big hockey game as far as we get that twice a year conference matchup. Right. Gets billed as a Stanley Cup preview, Daner. I don't know if this is that yet, but my goodness, the line tells you it's going to be a good game. and a total tells you there's going to be goals scored. So we always like that pregame anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Florida at Colorado. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about Devils and Kraken a little bit later on when Joe Madden joins the show. In the NHL right now, we got Washington and Buffalo. I believe they are tied at 1. We've got Vancouver and Montreal where the Habs are up 1-0 in that one. You did mention the NBA though, right? And I want to ask you about the NBA because I'm looking right now at the live board in the NBA, and there are 2 absolutely disgustingly gross games going on, Dave, right now. I'm saying, seriously, Suns Sixers right now is at halftime.
What is that?
Neither team is at 47 points. It's 46-42. Philadelphia, I got a live total at 202. And Knicks and Magic, not to be outdone, that live total is going back and forth between 200. I literally saw 2 live totals at 199.5 and 195.5 at one point just a couple of minutes ago. And another thing that intrigued me, I love getting the home favorite in the NBA because inherently the NBA is a game of runs. You know what I mean? And when you see a team that is supposed to be a big-time dog up early, especially on the road, that signals something to me. The Detroit Pistons, though, I don't know if they're good enough to actually kind of go with that blueprint. The Detroit Pistons were 6.5-point favorites with the Trailblazers coming in. Portland was up by like 20 points earlier in this game. The lead has been cut to 9, but I'm still getting 3.5 with the Detroit Pistons. I'm still getting plus 135 with the Detroit Pistons. This is the kind of blueprint that I like early in the night when a home favorite is down and actually getting points. The only question for me, Dave, is are the Detroit Pistons, like if this was a good team, you would expect them to just come on back and even win going away. I don't know if I can apply that logic with the Detroit Pistons. What do you say?
I don't think so yet. I think I would wait a little bit. I mean, we're getting plus money, and you can actually take 3.5 points with the home team, but I'm not ready to make that leap. And as far as what we're seeing, I mean, I feel like we're back in early 90s watching NBA basketball with these scores, right?
Yeah.
This is not the bad boys Pistons, and this isn't that 76ers team or the Suns teams of the early 90s, because the Suns team early 90s was really good and scored. I don't know what this game is. These games used to drive me nuts in the room. I'd be like, look, how low can we make this total? I mean, there's going to be a point where somebody may bet over, but is it below 200? Is it below? Do we have to get down to 190? I mean, we're going to see that here probably in the first hour when they come back. We're going to see 192.5, and that might be the buy point. I think we can wait on both of those games.
So you're funny because for me, there was a mental threshold at 200, right? I saw these live totals, 195.5, 199.5. And with Orlando and the Knicks, I saw it at 199.5, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. The second, however, Dave, that I got to 201.5, I was like, bang,
then you did it. Right, yeah.
There it is, right there. We do have 3 games in the association that are tipping off relatively soon. Want to see if you have anything on that one. Minnesota as a home team, they're 2.5-point favorites against the Clippers. Memphis and Dallas are getting going. Memphis at home. Dallas tonight, we know they're going to be without Luka. It looks like they're going to also be without Kyrie Irving. I think that opens up the door for some other guys out there, right? Like the Spencer Dinwiddies of the world, the Klay Thompsons of the world, the Liveleys, and other guys maybe. So we'll keep an eye out on how Dallas is trying to get it done. Maybe there'll be some props there as well. And then Spurs and Bulls. The Bulls are at home plus 3.5. Let me tell you something. The Bulls give up points like crazy, okay? I think they give up something like 116 points a game. This could be a Wemby night. I'm going to be looking at some Wembyama numbers as well because Vucevic, the big man for Chicago, is not one that's going to go outside with Wembyama. You know what I mean? He's going to be kind of anchored in the middle. So I'm intrigued to see what Wemby can do tonight as well.
I love watching Wemby play, only because it's so different than watching anyone else that I can really remember. So his ability to do all the things that he does has made me kind of, not go back to being a Spurs fan. I was a Spurs fan as a kid. I thought George Gervin was one of the coolest guys ever. The Iceman. Yeah, exactly. You remember the poster, him holding those balls with the ice. So
he could finger roll, I hear.
Right, but the Spurs are favored on the road. Like, let's just pause and think about that. And you go, wait a second. How bad are the Bulls, or how bad is their power rating pregame? I think over's really in play here. And I think if we get any sort of fast start, You go over 236, which it is right now, you're going to have it go up to 246 pretty quickly. And you might have that. We talk about, when you and I do the shows, and even when me and Wetzel do the show, those middle opportunities open up quickly with a fast start in this one.
All right, so that's what we'll keep an eye on. We'll see if Detroit can kind of come on back, and we'll see these other two games that are around 200 if we ever want to actually go ahead and click submit. I'll also want to get your thoughts on the two games going on ice right now. And by the way, you're rocking the Penn State, so I got to get your thoughts on both the Nittany Lions against the Irish and, of course, Ohio State, which looks like a wagon in my opinion right now. Yeah. The way they are playing, if 5.5 is too many for them to lay against the Texas Longhorns on Friday. So we'll check in on the totals in the NBA. We'll get your thoughts on the ice in the two NHL games that are going on, and then we will pivot and start to talk about the college football semifinals, which will be the Cotton Bowl and I believe the Orange Bowl. I got all these bowls mixed up. I'll also try and just ask you some random bowls, and you can tell me if they are real or fake. Like, is the Pomegranate Bowl real? We'll do that when we come back on InGame Live right here on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in, everybody. InGame Live rolls on a Monday night. I think it is the first Monday officially of 2025, and so we got to get you some cash here for the new year. Dane Martinez and my consigliere, Dave Sharapan. Dave, I think we have an opportunity in the NHL, but you are my resident kind of, I think consigliere is the word, right? The Buffalo Sabres somehow are winning this game. They are up on Washington. They're up 2-1. Now, the Washington Capitals came in at -145. However, or minus 160 I saw. However, now they're plus 155 to come on back. I know a 1-goal lead is never safe in the NHL. Talk to me. How crazy am I if I wanted to get onto the Capitals here at plus 158? And then talk to me. Is Ovechkin playing? Is he back? Is he going to break this record this year or not? What's going on over there on ice? Because I think we have a live number right now with what was a minus 160 favorite, down a goal, and at plus 155, plus 160 with a ton of time left, right? They've got 35 minutes of action for the Capitals to come back in this one. How crazy am I if I wanted to click submit here on the Caps?
I don't think you're crazy at all. Ovechkin already has 2 shots on goal, so he's playing. He's fine. The Capitals have been arguably one of the biggest surprises in the league, dare I say, and they've been playing above expectations the entire season. And, I mean, I do the hockey show with Carver every Friday, and we kind of sum up the week. They've been one of the best returns on the money line of any team this season. You're getting them at plus money against – I mean, I don't want to completely, badger. They're a bad team. The Sabres are a bad hockey team, and they give up leads on the regular. So let's check the shots on goal, make sure nothing too egregious is happening. They're almost even at shots on goal. Power plays, chances are even. It's probably a good time. The Capitals score next, and you have a plus.
Yeah, I got this at plus 168 right now.
Okay,
Over there on FanDuel, it's at plus 168 right now. So here's what I need us to do. In the back, Preston, Vinny, hook us up when, not if, but when the Washington Capitals score the next goal. I want to hear the goal horn. I want to know so we can tell the people left and right that that's how you do it. It is smarter to be on the grid. That is the main thrust here of In-Game Live. We are looking for opportunities. My consigliere, Dave, knows if you see something, say something. I saw something. I said something to the people. We're getting down right now, plus 168 on the Washington Capitals, down a goal. Hopefully that one comes on home for us. In the other game, Dave, we are tied at 1, Canucks and Canadiens, 1-1. Also, Vancouver came in there as a road favorite. Talk to me on this one. Did you have any leans on this one? What I will say is it closed at 5.5 as a total. Most games I'm seeing these days in the NHL, it's no longer 5.5. I'm seeing more 6.5s than usual. And this one is already 1-1. The live total is at 6.5. Are you surprised that there's already 2 goals in this one?
Not surprised. Kind of liked over before, but would have made the game a pick-em. I'm a big fan of Montreal and their ability to score goals. They got a lot of young skaters that are really good. And Vancouver is so Jekyll and Hyde, hit and miss. And especially when you think they're going to win, they don't. And then they're a big plus sometimes and they win. And you're like, oh, I was betting against them. So my first thought was Montreal as far as a side, but over the total. 6.5 right now is even money if you go over. So I think you can wait. It's only 30 seconds left in the period. It will get a readjustment, and we'll probably get a plus money price if you just pause and wait on that. Shots on goal in the game are, really low. 6 shots to 3 shots. So I don't know. Maybe they're playing a tight defensive game. I haven't seen one thing. I've been locked in on this FCS college football game. Have you been paying attention to that? North Dakota State is just cash money.
Montana State, North Dakota State?
And somehow Montana State's favored, and somehow North Dakota State's delivering again. It looks like they just scored another touchdown to go up 21-3, if that counts. They were 3.5-point dogs. They're going to win this football game. It's unbelievable how you find these certain things that happen, and as odds makers, you just won't do it. Like, you just won't make North Dakota State favored. I don't know why, but it looks like the right side as of right now.
I mean, there may be more points scored in that college football game than there is in Suns and 76ers because that live total is once again under 200. I mean, we are now into the third quarter and neither team has gotten to 50. I'm still looking at 49-45 Philadelphia into the third quarter. We're going right back and forth over around 200. The Knicks and the Magic have started scoring, though. I told you about that one, which was also at around 200. Live total for that one is up now to 212. And we're also keeping tabs on the Detroit Pistons to see if if they can come back, remember, they were 6.5-point favorites. They are down, but they were down by like 20. Now they're down by only 7. The one I'm really watching here is Phoenix and Philadelphia. It's gone under 200 again. It's at 199.5. I mean, Dave, you were talking about it. Like in the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago, remember when it was Heat and Celtics, and they were starting to hang pregame numbers in the 195s and the 198s, and it was still going under. I mean, like, how hard is it? Like, how low can you go? You were talking about that in the room before. Like, at some point, you have to be like, nah, I just can't put this number up because people are just going to hop over it right away, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to kind of do it incrementally, but when you're watching it, your eyes are telling you, look, you need to jump this instead of by 2 or by 4, maybe move this thing by 6. And instead of the move going from 206.5 to 204.5 or 203.5, maybe you move it right to 201.5. Or, you know, you play with that mind game and you put it right under 200. So, I mean, I'm watching it right now with you with this Suns and Sixers game.
Right.
The guy who's doing this, or the algorithm guy that's watching it and watching the computer work, they keep bouncing it to 200.5 and then going back up. And they go to 201.5 and go back up. While we're on, maybe in the next commercial break, that thing's going to be below 200.5. So it's going to move down, and it's going to happen.
I'm seeing 198.
Quickly.
It just happened. It's gone down to 198.5, right? So they're actually going to tempt fate here. You think they're trying to get over money on this, Dave? Real quick, you think they're trying to get over bets by going down to 198?
The bleeding. They're trying to stop the bleeding right now because everybody's betting under. You got to keep moving it down. You got to keep moving it down. Now, when we go to 192.5,
they're trying to make you an offer that you can refuse, in fact. And we'll see if that's what happens here with the way this game goes when we come back on InGame Live.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Vlade Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. In-Game Live rolls on the first Monday of 2025. Dane Martinez and my consigliere, Dave Sharapan. Dave is correct. They are teasing us in Phoenix and Philadelphia. The live total there is 199.5. We think it's going to go under there, but it looks like the book is trying to prevent us from getting over the mental hurdle that is to bet an under when the first number is 1. But Dave, I think we got another potential opportunity in the association. I told you about Dallas and Memphis. I told you Dallas obviously still without Luka Doncic, without Kyrie Irving, I believe, tonight as well. On the road in Memphis. Memphis closed as about a 4.5-point favorite at home, yet they are trailing by 7 to the Dallas Mavericks. It is early, 23-16, and it was a place where you could get Memphis kind of plus points, but it has just flipped. Memphis still the favorite now, Dave. Memphis the favorite, minus 130, despite being down by 7. Is this a function of just how early in the game we still are?
Yeah, one of those situations where you don't want to give away the other side too quickly. You have to wait it out. We've done this many times. It's like hold,
William
wait,
Wallace at the Battle of York.
That's it, and go, okay, we'll ride it out the first quarter, and we'll see.
Okay.
And then if it gets into the midway through the second quarter and they're still trailing, then you flip the favorite and go from there. But you said it. This NBA is so much about runs. And I don't know. I mean, Dallas, you figure them to play well early without their guys, but then it kind of catches up, right? So a lot of times play is, you see these steam moves come when guys are ruled out, but they play well in the first quarter. You're supposed to play on that team a lot of times early and then watch it kind of not dwindle away, but it's like, hey, they don't have their guys. Let's get going. So it's another betting opportunity that exists in this crazy
All right, so you
NBA
think you want to find a way to get back on Memphis. Is that correct? You ultimately think this should just be Dallas and kind of some of the bench mob blowing their load a little bit earlier, proverbially, right? Yeah. And that you think Memphis is eventually going to get it. So if you were in the book, you would be hesitant to put the points, to put the plus in front of Memphis because you think the way it should go, the blueprint is such that Memphis is going to claw back into this one and eventually win this going away. Exactly what I talked about when it came to Detroit and Portland, right? That's what I thought was going to happen with Detroit and Portland. I just didn't know that Detroit was a good enough team. Well, guess what? They've come all the way back. That's now a 1-point game. The Detroit Pistons are only down by 1. I've got it 62-61, and now the Pistons are minus 245 on the money line. Now the Pistons are getting 5.5 points right back to where they closed, which I believe was a 6.5-point spread when this game closed. So we will be looking for the Memphis Grizzlies to pretty much do the same thing. We expect that blueprint to hold. And I always say, Dave, right? We're not just giving you a fish. We are teaching you how to fish. So when you see these home teams that were favorites by 4, 5, 6, 7 points, and if there's any opportunity, because like you said, it is the blueprint. And like I said, in the NBA, there are all these runs back and forth. You can pretty much expect that there will be a 14-4 run for the favorite, getting the crowd involved, and there'll be the coach calling for a 20 at some point.
I love that. Yeah. Actually, we throw that rod out there and we teach them how to fish and, reel right back in. And, I mean, we got Vinny keeping an eye on the hockey games for us. And Preston what happened?
And my, oh my, and we are happy. Why? Because it is, in fact, the Washington Capitals. We told you to get on them at plus 160, I think it was, right? That's how you make money. Now, Dave, what do you think this is going to be? Now that we're back at 2, does this revert exactly back to where it was pregame? Washington was minus 160 pregame. We got them plus 160, I believe, down a goal. If you're in the room, where do you set this back? Does it go all the way back to the original or
just
what?
Short of it. Just short of it. Was an even strength goal. So I'm thinking minus 150 is my first thought, the number. Like if we got to come up with it quick, make sure the goal is confirmed. The goal is confirmed. We got the goal horn. Yes, it's probably unless it's a power play goal, which it was not.
Okay.
So
was it
even
Ovechkin?
straight goal, 11 minutes left. No, it was Wilson, his second goal of the night.
Oh, okay.
And Ovechkin doesn't have a point yet. So,
all right.
Yeah, we're back. We're back. That's fine.
We're feeling good on that one. That's what we tell you. That's why it pays to use in-game live as your second screen experience, right? We set the deck. We tell you what we're looking for. We found what was a minus 160. We got it at plus 160. That sounds like some value. Let's reel in another one when we come back. See if this total in Phoenix and Philly will go over 200. And we'll talk college football playoffs when we come back right here on In-Game Live.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. In-Game Live rolls on. We just had the beauty of In-Game Live, okay? The Washington Capitals closed at minus 160. We get an opportunity for them at plus 160, right? They score the goal. They tie it at 2. Oh, but unfortunately, Dave. Unfortunately, Dave.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. That's okay, though. I'm not scared. I liked Washington when they were down 1 before. I still like Washington when they're down 1 again. Unfortunately, the Buffalo Sabres have scored to make this one 3-2. But it feels like there's now going to be goals scored. Maybe some open ice. It's going to open up a little bit. What I did want to say to you, though, is I did see before the Sabres goal, they were hanging the Caps at minus 130. So you remember how you said you thought it was going to be just shy of what it closed at? Yeah. It was pretty much around there. I'm like minus 130. That gives you another marker just for people that are, interested and try to figure this one out, right? So it did get there. Are you concerned now? Because we're still middle of the second period. All the logic that you were talking about still kind of applies. I still believe Washington is a good team. We still haven't seen Ovechkin get his point yet. So I still am okay with holding on to my Caps.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of time left. There's no need to panic yet. And again, I believe it was a power play goal for the Sabres. When you have to weigh it differently when it's a power play goal versus an even strength goal. And because not that the expectation is to score on the power play, but it's built into the number. So as soon as they go on the power play, the number gets adjusted. You have to, you make a favorite a little bit of a bigger favorite. You make a dog a little bit less of a dog. In that situation. So when they go on the power play and, the Sabres cashed in, that's great. The in-game total is now 7.5. So that one looks like it's headed over.
We'll get a 4-3 final.
I would like to get a goal. before the end of the period. I don't want
Okay.
if we tie this thing up, I'll feel a lot better about it going into the third, but I'm not scared. Not scared at all.
All right, fair enough. Listen, those two totals that are sub 200 in the NBA are maintaining. The Knicks and Magic had gotten all the way back up to like 211. That one is back down to going right around 200, 201, 199.5 as they get into the end of the first half. And we've gotten all the way down to 195 in Philadelphia as we are midway through the third quarter. And still, we're at 55, 54. Hopefully, you did hit submit on the under when it was around 200 because now it's down to 194.5. So ugly basketball being played in Philadelphia and in New York. But Dave, I promised the people we would talk about your Penn State Nittany Lions. You're dressed, to the nines here as usual. I like the hat that you got. But one thing you did say is that that Notre Dame was deservingly a favorite. Talk to me about that. I think it's because, quite frankly, I was impressed with what I saw out of the Notre Dame defense against Georgia. I know it wasn't Carson Beck, but still, I was impressed by that defense. I think they're going to be able to kind of hang and, whatever term and axiom you want to use, bring their lunch pail, punch them in the mouth. It's going to be that kind of game with Penn State. And I got to tell you something. I don't care who wins this game because when the brackets came out, Dave, I thought that bottom side of the bracket with Boise and Georgia without their quarterback were the softer side. So before the whole thing even started, I took Notre Dame to win it all at plus 750. I took Penn State to win it all at plus 950. And I now will have somebody in the championship game, albeit probably the dog to Ohio State, but I'll be holding someone in the championship with at least plus 750. Talk to me objectively, if you can, about this game, because I like what I see out of Penn State. Sure, but I just think Notre Dame, besides that blip against Northern Illinois a long time ago, they look good. And quite frankly, I think Marcus Freeman is a damn good college football coach, Dave.
I think you're right on all of those. Good numbers on both. I can tell you this. I think Ohio State's going to be about a 3.5-point favorite against Notre Dame and probably about a 6.5-point favorite, maybe even touch 7 against Penn State. Yeah. In a fast track in a dome, it's going to be different than it was at Penn State. Ohio State closed 3-point favorite at Penn State, won by 7. It was a different time and a different place for both. I would love nothing more to see that. But odds would tell you that it's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame. I think you're right. The thought process was simple. I said you could make it Notre Dame -2 or even 2.5 if you wanted to take a bet initially on Penn State. You make it pick or 1, you get the Notre Dame bet when you come up with a number for this game. I think it's a defensive game. I thought the number would be 45.
46.5 is pretty low for a college football game.
It is, but
in the last round, they were all in the 50s, right?
Yeah. So this is low. And I think it's all about the defenses for both teams. And I think the only objectively real big play capability is if Allen or really Singleton breaks a long run. And that could happen. But the sustainability of drives is going to win or lose this game. The team that's able to go 6, 8, 10 play drives and convert with either touchdowns and or field goals, I think the first team to 24 wins this game. I can't wait to watch it. Hopefully I'll have a little announcement tomorrow with BVB. I think we're going to do a big watch party here in Vegas. I'm going to find out tonight after the show. I got a dinner and confirmation thing.
Got a meeting with a guy?
I got a meeting with a guy at the book. I'll be out later. So if you want to come out, you can bring the wife. I got a babysitter for you if you want to fly the kid out. We got a place, I think. Vinny, you're invited, Preston. I'm saving Preston's invite for Atlanta because if Penn State wins, I think I'm going to Atlanta, Dane. But you don't think Penn State's going to win? I
do not. I think Notre Dame's going to win. And it's tough because against Georgia, it was really like, a 1.5-minute span at the end of the second quarter and then the kickoff, right, in the second half, which really completely flipped that game. But here's what I wanted to ask you because you are a Penn State guy. You referenced the run game. Check this out. Singleton and Allen both have rushing props of 58.5. If I wanted to, because I'm trying to put something together a little bit, I agree with you that the under may be the play, maybe even an alternate under. I like Notre Dame on the money line. I like the quarterback for Notre Dame, Leonard, to be able to run the ball a little bit more, although I'm always kind of tentative around rushing props for the quarterbacks in college because the sack yardage counts against you and your rushing total in college, unlike in the NFL. So that one I don't love. But if you were going to bet Singleton or Allen to go over the 58.5, it's odd to me that both backs have the same exact number, right? So talk to me. If you were going to tell me which back do you think against this defense, from what you've seen from watching all these games, which back is a better play here to maybe go over his total?
This is crazy because I was at the game and I've been watching his team all season going, why doesn't they give the Singleton the ball more? Because of his big play capability. I feel like he could take it to the house from anywhere on the field. But I'll tell you what, I was so impressed with Allen and have been impressed all season with his ability to shed guys. He is great yards after contact. Guys bounce off of his lower body, and he's really good with the stiff arm. And I was like, all right, I see why the Penn State guys go, who's going good right now? Which drives me crazy as an odds maker trying to make a number who's going to get more yards, because I don't know who's going to get more carries. I think the game is going to dictate it, where if it's close, if it's not high scoring, I think Allen would be the one to bet over. If we see some scores get traded, I think Singleton will get balls like on the outside. They'll look, Allen's a guy between the tackles, and Singleton's a guy to look, to pitch outside and maybe go to the house or just off tackle. My first thought right now, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, and if you guys are watching and Penn State guys that I know, I think Allen would be the one. I think Allen would be the one. Yeah.
Okay, interesting over Singleton. So we shall see. Remember, both of them right now at 58.5. We've crossed that threshold, though. Also, I want to let you know we're at the end of the first quarter there in Memphis. The Mavericks are up by 10, and the books finally have given it to you. You can get the Memphis Grizzlies right now plus 3.5 points and at plus 140. So if you like that blueprint, there is another opportunity. We have a cup of Joe with Joe Madden talking NHL puck when we come back. Dane and Dave on InGame Live.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. InGame Live continues here on the first Monday of 2025. We will keep an ear out for the goal horn because we got the Washington Capitals when they were down 2-1, not at the minus 160 they closed at, but at plus 160. They have since once again relinquished the lead to the Buffalo Sabres. So we will keep an eye on that one, and we will continue to have the puck conversation going on right now with a cup of Joe. We bring in Joe Madden to talk about some of the games that are going on that have yet to drop the puck in the NHL tonight. What's going on, Joe? How are you? Happy New Year. Let's dive right on into it. First game, some people could believe is the kind of, interconference matchup that some could even see as almost like a potential Stanley Cup preview. Talk to me about Panthers and Avs and what you like in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic game between two outstanding teams out there on the ice. Now, Bobrovsky and Blackwood, the Colorado Avalanche getting Blackwood on their team in net has been so pivotal for this team to make that playoff push. And I do think he's going to stand nice and tall. Now, I know looking at both of these teams, it is terrifying to take an under, but I'm expecting defense and goaltending to really step up tonight. Both of these teams know that they can't get in a shootout between each other. So give me the lower scoring game, keeping it under the 6.5. I'm going to kick that off with that first period. I think that is your best bet there because this team does have the opportunity of going to overtime. So I'm looking at the overtime bet, but that under 1.5 in the first period, I do think is a really nice way to play as both of these teams come out, play strong defensively, and these goaltenders have the upper hand in this one.
It's a good game, and it's two teams, one East and one West, which is also the next game, the only other game on the card. But the Devils are on a 4-game losing streak, and they're minus a gigantic number tonight at Seattle. Joe, when I look at this, this screams, stay the hell away from this. I don't know what to do with it. I hope you found a bet or two here with the Devils at the Kraken. Did you?
Yeah, I did. I looked at the Devils in this one, and this team has to get back in the right form here, Dave. And I really do think they can do that against the defense here, the Seattle Kraken and Grubauer in net. Grubauer has been absolutely struggling this season. He hasn't been the goaltender that we were all expecting. And you look at the defense, they're not giving him the support. They're still allowing right around 28 shots on goal per game. They don't have an outstanding kill. And we have a Devils team, like you said, they've lost their last 4 games. This team is going to be hungry to get back in the win column, and they have to do it because looking at their opponents ahead of them, this game tonight is pivotal to start building that confidence again with this team. They will have Jacob Markstrom in net, and we know he's a solid goaltender. They have to do their best here to really limit Jared McCann and company for the Seattle Kraken, and I think they will be able to. I think their defense will show up, but I'm also looking for offensively this team to really come to life in this game. Now, you could look at them here in regulation, but I don't think it's the best way. I think you just look at them straight up on that puck line, Dave. I know it's so much here when they have lost their last 4, but I'm looking at a team that shouldn't have lost 2 of those last 4, a team also that is so much better. This team is sitting still strong in the Metro, even with these 4 losses. They're still 12-9 on the road. I do think this will be a turnaround pivotal game for them where their offense starts clicking. I would even alt that puck line laying 2.5, and I did, Dave. It's coming in at plus 186, laying the 2.5. And just to note, on that earlier game with Colorado and Florida, these two teams, because I think it's going to be so tight, has the possibility of going to overtime. I will be live betting whichever team goes down first, the other team plus 1.5 on the puck line, as long as we're getting below minus 120 juice on the other side. So that's exactly where I want to go with that game, that live betting situation.
Listen, Joe, I just did some live betting here. I had the Washington Capitals, who closed as a minus 160 favorite on the road against a piss-poor Buffalo Sabres team, down by a goal, right? That's the way we want to do it. That game is now going into the second intermission. Washington is still down a goal. Talk to me, though. Do you still have faith that my Capitals here, at least my Capitals for tonight, can come on back in Buffalo? Because we got them at plus 160. They're still down a goal, but we've got 20 minutes of action still left.
Yeah, I absolutely do. You look at who has scored here for them. It has been Wilson. We're yet to see Ovechkin score. We know how hot he has been rolling. And it's the Buffalo Sabres. This is a team that on that losing streak, you could count on them to get up in games and then just completely blow the lead. I do think the Washington Capitals here are really strong to come back and get the win. Now, anyone wanting to jump in on this live right now is coming in at plus 215, and I expected them to come out and be able to cover that puck line. One thing I did look at in this matchup, and something to always look at in Buffalo games when they're facing a strong opponent, is both teams to score in that first period. You're always getting great plus money at right around that plus 180, because we know Buffalo's strongest period is that first, and a team like the Washington Capitals, with how they've been playing, normally can score in that first period as well. So that has cash. Now, if I didn't have a bet on it, I'd be jumping in on the Caps plus 215. That's just a crazy number here that you're getting when this team, like you said, a minus 160, minus 170 favorite at close.
Joe, I'm in Vegas. I just saw your Chargers come in here and win a game on Sunday that they needed to win so they could get to go to Houston. They are a road favorite. I think rightly so. How excited are you about the Chargers? And it's the first game on Saturday. Are you going to be on for the Charger game? Are you going to be watching the Charger game? Are you going to be betting your Chargers on Saturday, Joe?
Oh, that's a lot of questions. That's a ton of questions. One, I'll be on air. Yes, I absolutely will. Two, am I going to bet them? I'm going to find a way to bet the Chargers in this one. They should be able to come out and put up a strong performance here versus the Houston Texans. We know the Texans and their struggles, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as everyone thought. I know Bolts fans were really eager to get the Houston Texans, not the Baltimore Ravens, and rightly so. Baltimore is such a strong team, but I really hope there's no underestimating here the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud hasn't looked like himself, but you know, they're going to come with a game plan. So I'm still nervous for this game. I don't think this is a slam dunk. Bolts fans seem to think it's a slam dunk. I'm looking at that total of 43.5, and I think CJ Stroud's going to surprise some people, push us over that total. So I'll take the over 43.5. I'll find a way, maybe Justin Herbert over 1.5 passing touchdowns in this one.
I saw you on social media, Joe, saying this was the first game without Monday Night Football in a long time. Thanks for spending some of that Monday night here with us on InGame Live. Dave and I come back after this.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We roll on here on InGame Live on a Monday. Dane Martinez and Dave Sharapan. We are listening for the goal horn in the third period in Buffalo. They're in the second intermission right there. I got to tell you something. You don't want to know what's crazy, Dave? When we were talking to Joe about all the pucks, all of a sudden the Suns and the Sixers couldn't miss. That total is now up to 207.5, and it looks like a regular game, 81-76. The Phoenix Suns are up here early in the fourth quarter, but that now looks like a game where maybe both teams can get to 100 points. All of a sudden, it's a higher total than in Orlando and the Knicks. It's a higher total than the Pacers and the Nets. And we also talked about how the Memphis Grizzlies were down against Dallas without their studs in the backcourt, and we still think that Memphis has plenty of time to come on back. You can get them at +3.5. What do you do in the book here now all of a sudden when Philadelphia and Phoenix are on a relative hot streak and the number is up legitimately? The total's up like 11, 12 points from where we saw it at its bottom.
I'll tell you what, you're old enough to remember it. So am I. The NBA, this 3-point thing has changed everything, and it's changed the in-game betting, and it's changed the way you have to do the numbers. It can go so quickly because it becomes, not a 3-point shooting contest, but if you can shoot the three as a team, one or two guys can get hot, and then all of a sudden the total has to jump. And I guess that's what's happening in Philadelphia, in Phoenix, because that thing jumped 8 points while we were hanging out with Joe talking hockey, because it was 198.5, 199.5.
I saw 195.5 at one point.
Right. So it happens really quickly. Now, you keep mentioning the I'm waiting for Memphis to get going.
Okay.
It's 4.5. You're getting 4.5 now with a team that closed as a 4.5-point favorite.
Yes.
Getting to the buy point. It's getting to the buy point for sure. If we could get 6.5, we get 3 buckets. That's I think an auto play. We'll do that while we're watching the close of these early games. What are your Knicks doing?
The Knicks are down now. That one's around 202.5. Knicks are now down by 6. It's 61-55 early third quarter. Here's what I wanted to ask you on that. This game is a closer game than Suns Sixers, and I believe that the closer game actually helps for the live under. Right? Because these teams, if they are close within a possession or two, they're not fouling, so we don't get that. And then if it's still close, if it's still a 1-2 possession game, once we get deeper into the fourth quarter, they're dribbling out the shot clock, right? They're looking for their best shot. They're starting to use all the time. So I think as long as that one stays close, we are still live for our live in-game total to go under, as opposed to if it was a blowout, or at least in that other intermediate phase, like if it was 4 to 6 to 7 points, that's when you start playing the foul game. But if you're within a possession, 3 or 4 points, you don't necessarily play the foul game, right, Dave?
The close games were the easiest ones to keep an eye on the total when you were, in the book, keeping the numbers. The blowouts, or like you said, when you get to 3 possessions, that 4 to 7 point range, are they fouling or are they not? Oh, yes, they're fouling, and then they foul, and then they don't, and then it's very hard. You see the bigger fluctuations with the totals. Now, remember, a lot of times, if you're new to the show or you're watching, they turn the NBA totals off with about the 4-minute mark left in the game. So in the fourth quarter, you got to make quicker decisions, I think, in getting a bet down, and you have to make quicker decisions in getting a number, because you may only see it once or twice, like max. Where you're not going to. The book starts to really tighten the numbers up, so you don't see a lot of different things. So you're absolutely right. The close games favor the under. As the game starts to get not out of hand, but multiple possessions, or where you get in that situation where there's a foul, yes, it favors the over. Waiting for the Pistons. I'm looking at the Pistons right now.
I've been waiting for the Pistons also.
What are we doing? They ain't going.
They got 8 minutes left to try to make it happen. We're going to be in hour number 2 of In-Game Live. We're going to be watching the close of all these games. Will the Pistons come on back, as they were favored by 6.5 points to do so? We're looking at these lower scoring games in the city of brotherly love and in the world's most famous arena. And we are going to see if these games close above or finish above or below the 200. We will see what the Memphis Grizzlies can do. If they can come on back, we will see if the Washington Capitals can get a third period goal to tie the Sabres in Buffalo. And Dave and I, we're going to start to talk about Wild Card Weekend as well. We heard Joe talk about her Los Angeles Chargers. I have some thoughts on that game and the rest of the games of Wild Card Weekend. So we will see how we could put a card together for one of the best weekends in all of football when we come back. It is the Spitting Statistician and his consigliere, Dave Sharapan, on a Monday edition of InGame Live.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome in here, hour number 2 of InGame Live on the first Monday of 2025. Dane Martinez and Dave Sharapan, we are trying to get that cash. We got some action going on in the NBA. We got a third period about to start in Buffalo where we need the Capitals to get the next goal to tie the Sabres at 3. But Dave, one of the teams we have been following was the Memphis Grizzlies. And we said the Grizzlies, they've got to get going. Well, guess what? In the commercial break, they got going because it is now only a 3-point game against the Dallas Mavericks. I've got it at 48-45. Now help me out with this one though, because they are minus 115 on the money line, yet they are getting a 1.5 on the spread. They are getting a 1.5, yet they are minus 115 as the favorite on the money line. I know the plus 1.5 points is juiced up a little bit to 140. I'd rather just take the money line and hope it's not a 1-point game. Talk to me here on this one, Dave. And how are you like favorites on the money line, but yet still getting a point? Do they cross their wires like that in the books live at times?
See, a lot of times you got to put on the listening glasses for this because Dane sees things that not a lot of people see. That's absolutely, you cannot take a 1.5 and lay 140. You're supposed to take the money line 100%. Okay. You know the way these things go. It flips fast, and it might be a little glitch in the system.
Ooh, in the Matrix?
Take off the money line if you're going to leave the point spread up, or just put up the money line and take the point spread down. One way or the other, those two numbers don't jive. That's a very expensive 1.5. To night a minus 140, definitely not worth it. While we were at the break there as well, did you see what happened in Detroit? with the Trailblazers and the
The
Pistons.
Detroit Pistons have taken the lead on the Portland
Hello.
Trailblazers
Hello.
in Detroit. Listen, this is something that we have been talking about literally since we came on air.
Yes.
And I will say this also, Dave, like about 10 minutes before we came on air, Portland was up literally by like 16 points. I was hoping to be able to talk about it. It had already gone down to like 8 or 10 when we came on air, but Detroit had taken the lead 101-100. Portland is now at 103-101. So here's what we're going to see here now, Dave. With about 5 minutes left to go, we're going to get back and forth because Detroit has now just hit a 3 to once again go up by 1. We're going to wind up from this point on, even if you're just new and watching us here, hour number 2 of In-Game Live on the grid, Dane Martinez and my consigliere, Dave Sharapan, what you are going to get from here on in, Dave, is you're going to get both teams at like plus 135, possession by possession. I don't know how you like to bet. I'm not unit shaming anybody, but if you want to go on this literally 3 by 3, possession by possession, you're going to wind up with plus 130 on each side in a game that is a one possession game like this one, Dave.
And it just happened again. Portland just hit a 3. It says 106,
and now
104.
Detroit's at plus 136. They're at
Correct.
plus 136, down by a possession, okay? Watch how that changes as soon as they hit a 3. All of a sudden, you're going to get Portland plus 130. And listen, depending on how you do it, you can't go broke guaranteeing yourselves 35 cents a profit one way or the other. Like, hey, push it up the hill gently, my friends.
It's one of those things that I think you got to get the appetite to do it. You can also go for the middle. You know, if you have one side on the money line and you can take the points on the other, if you think you see a run coming and you get the team to win, say you have the Portland plus money and you take Detroit plus 4.5 or 3.5, the game falls in the middle, you cash them both. But either way, it's a good strategy to employ. The biggest lead in that game for Portland was 22 points.
There you go in the first quarter.
Detroit has led by 3 points. I love looking at the biggest lead thing in that because a lot of times, Dave, would you agree or disagree? The team that has to spend all that energy to come back doesn't close the show. But there's enough time in this game that I think Detroit can actually win it. Like a lot of times they spend that whole fourth quarter coming back.
Right,
We're down 22 at one point early, and then they just don't finish. Detroit could finish this game. This thing is far from over.
All right, so we'll keep our eye out on that one for sure. We're now later in the third quarter, and the Knicks total has gone under 200. I'm staring at 196.5 in that one. Unfortunately, though, or maybe fortunately, it's a 5-point game, Dave. So we are still kind of in that threshold where we may not have to worry about the foul game like we were talking about, right? But the Knicks have come out and not done much in the third quarter, still at 59 points. So that total is down. We've got Phoenix up by 9 in Philadelphia. We'll see if the Sixers have one more run still in them. And the Memphis Grizzlies have now tied the game at 53 in the last minute of the first half. We told you this was a place to look. I think we could have gotten 4.5 with the Memphis Grizzlies at one point. Then we were joking about the 1.5 and on the money line. Well, this game is now tied with a minute left to go in that first half. So those are places, I got to ask you, Chargers and Texans, you said you walking out up and down the strip. If you don't see this guy on the social media machine, this guy is glad. It's like he's running for the mayor of Las Vegas. My man is kissing babies, shaking hands, glad-handing. He's got a meeting with a guy. And you said that you have yet to hear anybody who is on the Texans side in this wild card opener.
It's pretty funny because I was really hoping the Steelers found a way to win on Saturday to play the Texans.
Right.
Because I really thought
everybody
that gave them
wanted
an
to draw
opportunity.
Houston instead of Baltimore, right? Of course.
No question. And I thought, okay, what would the number be? And I got a little pushback when I said, well, I think the Steelers are 2.5 at Houston. And they're like, I don't know. You might be a little biased, Dave. Might be pick 'em. Well, it came Chargers immediately, at being the favorite. And it wasn't even a question. There wasn't a person that I know in the space and around saying, well, yeah, the Chargers are going to go and they could lay an egg at Houston. Haven't found them yet. I'm going to ask around all week. When you look at the games, that bracket, right, there's the first 4 games, the AFC games, Chargers win.
Yep.
Ravens win.
Yep.
Baltimore wins. Or Buffalo wins. Yeah, so it's like favorite. We're looking for a dog. Dane,
so
is there a dog? At least, and I don't see a dog winning in the AFC.
In the weekend? So here's the thing. I got to tell you something. I think the Chargers win this one as well, but that game's a pass for me. That game is a pass for me. I'm not saying I think Houston can do it, but I do think Houston is going to look better than most people think, and I think they're going to run the ball. I think you can run on the Chargers defense. I think they got Joe Mixon for this reason, and the problem is, I said it to Joe, C.J. Stroud has been under pressure more than any quarterback in the NFL all season long, has not looked good in his sophomore season. I don't think they're going to take that risk. I think they're going to try to punch the Chargers in the mouth, which is a less exciting game to watch, but could be a lower scoring game that keeps Houston in it. That is a pass for me. What I will say, Dave, to your point about the earlier games, chronologically in the weekend, if you put Baltimore money line, Buffalo money line, Philly money line together, you get yourself a nice little plus 120, plus 125. I don't know about them all covering the numbers, but I do think they will all survive and advance. I know they build those buildings in the desert for a reason, and that reason is usually parlays, but that 3-leg money line parlay, tell me I'm wrong. Baltimore, Buffalo, and Philly, I think they all win the game. I don't know if they all cover, but I do think they all win the game. And at plus 120, I'd get to the window on that.
I think they all win as well. Green Bay is limping in. I mean, they're beat up.
Yeah,
and
they're banged up.
I don't know. You have to go beat the champ as far as going into Philly and winning.
Right.
And that means going and playing a high offensive game and trading scores back and forth. I don't think so. And Denver, rookie starter, no. They're not winning.
Exactly. So we'll talk about it. You asked me, do I see a dog that can win? I'll answer that question when we come back right here on InGame Live, because I think I do.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. In-Game Live rolls on a Monday night. The spitting statistician Dane Martinez and my consigliere Dave Sharapan. We've got good news to report, Dave, in the NBA. With only 30 seconds left to go, the Detroit Pistons are up 114 to 112, and now the Portland Trailblazers are plus 540 on the money line. So that one looks like the Detroit Pistons probably are at the free throw line or about to get fouled and kind of get that to a working margin. I'll also let you know that the Memphis Grizzlies go into the locker room at halftime up by a point, 56-55 against the Dallas Mavericks. That was the blueprint we were looking for. We thought we got them at what? Like, we were looking for 4.5 points at one point. We got. Then we saw the kind of difference with the 1.5 points and the money line. We were looking to get Memphis. Memphis goes into the locker room in their own gym up a point. And then earlier in the show, I told you about the under 200 for the Knicks and the Magic. We are now pretty much at the end of the third quarter in the world's most famous arena, and it's the Knicks who are not doing their share. They're only at 65 points. They're down 73 to 65, and the live total at MSG is down to 194.5. This game is going to wind up lower than the Suns-Sixers game that we were joking about the whole time, because now all of a sudden Phoenix has 104 points on the board. That one live total is at 207.5. It's the Knicks Magic that's going to struggle to get to 200, Dave.
How about that? And I'm actually looking at the side in the Magic and the Knicks going, wait a second, what are we doing here? I mean, we're approaching the fourth quarter, and the Magic are only 1.5 point favorites. So I see the reluctance of the number to make it too big of a favorite. But listen, man, I've been impressed with this Orlando Magic team all season. This is exactly the type of game that they go and stay competitive all the way to the end. Are you willing to, take the money line with the Knicks at plus 120? Dane, New York guy.
I am a New York guy. The only problem is I'm already in on this game under 201.5. So now when I see the live total at 191.5, I'm good on this game, brother, man. I'm not going to tempt fate. I'm okay. If I got a winning bet, I'm going to keep my winning bet. I'm going to feel good about it. What I need is a damn goal by the Washington Capitals, who are now into the third period with about, 13 minutes left, and that plus is now plus 290. But I'm not scared. I still do think they can score. I want to get back to Wild Card Weekend because you asked me about any dogs. I think Baltimore, Buffalo, and Philly, like I said, 3-leg money like parlay, get you at plus 120, plus 125. I don't think either of those teams don't survive and advance. Do they all cover the number? I'm not so sure, because you could have one of those Pittsburgh, Baltimore 16-13 kind of games. I know about Mike Tomlin as a dog. I know about Lamar Jackson and his history against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I do think, Dave, I think the Baltimore Ravens, if they play their A game, I think they're the best team in the NFL. If they play their A game, I think the Baltimore Ravens can go to the Super Bowl, if you want to know the truth. They are my pick to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, with who may be the 3-time MVP Lamar Jackson in tow. And remember, last year in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, what did they do in the second half when they were up against the Kansas City Chiefs? They abandoned the run game. This year, they're going to hand the ball to Derrick Henry until they can't anymore. That's at least my hope. I think Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens have learned their lesson. The game where I do believe, though, Dave, that a dog can win it outright is the last one of the weekend. It's the Los Angeles Rams at home against the Minnesota Vikings. They are getting 2.5 points. I think they are live to win this game outright. I saw Sam Darnold on Sunday night, and listen, as you know, I'm a Jets guy. I like Sam Darnold. I got a soft spot in my heart for Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is going to get a deal in the NFL in the offseason. I think he's going to get a Baker Mayfield kind of deal. I think the Minnesota Vikings should say J.J. McCarthy needs to sit and watch Sam Darnold, because the man won 14 games, and that needs to be respected. However, I don't like the way he looked against Detroit. He was missing wide receivers left and right. It felt like the pressure was on him. The moment was a little too big for him. And I know one thing, these Los Angeles Rams, when they are healthy and whole, they're going to put up points. Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua Matata. It means no worries. Cooper Kupp in tow. I think the Rams at home are going to score. And remember, Dave, these two teams played each other on a Thursday Night Football. in Los Angeles, and the Rams came out ahead. Yes, Sam Darnold had some beef with a face mask call that was not called at the very end of that game, but I have seen these Rams beat these Vikings, and I think second time around, Sean McVay is going to have something for that defense in Minnesota that's been so good all year long. I think the Rams are the live dog at home that can win outright to finish up the weekend, Dave.
Well, you better bet it now, because that thing's going to close pick or Rams favored.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the LA money's coming. If it hasn't already, it started to trickle down here in the desert. It's 1.5 in a couple places in town. And like I said, I got a meeting after this. I'll go stop at 2 other places locally to see. But, yeah, I think the line came with Minnesota being favored because they already played once. And, yes, wasn't that a short week? I think that was it was a Thursday night game, was it not?
It was a Thursday night game, it was.
So, inherently, we've heard this. I don't know how much validity it has, but it's hard to beat a team twice, let alone 3 times in the same season. Okay, so now you're looking to go against Minnesota a lot. It has happened over and over and over leading up to that Detroit game. Oh, this is a week to fade Minnesota. Didn't get there. This is a week to fade Minnesota. Didn't get there. Well, finally did in the game, against the Lions. And it got there pretty easily. So a lot of those people are looking to do it again and take the Rams. Just be cautious with that one. My first thought is over in that game. I think we get points, like you said.
Okay.
I think we get a willing, dance partner in the Vikings.
Sure.
To do that and get the total over. I love O'Connell, and I think he will do something different to help, because that was, listen, going to Detroit, I don't think anybody's going to Detroit winning a game. I think Detroit's going to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Interesting. We will see about that. I like Philadelphia if they are healthy and whole. The only problem is Jalen Hurts still in the concussion protocol, so we shall see. By the way, Malik Beasley with a steal. It is a final in Detroit. 118-115. Detroit Pistons notch up another win for us right here on InGame Live on the Grid. We'll be right back.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Vlade Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. In-Game Live rolls on a Monday night. Dane Martinez and my consigliere, Dave Sharapan. Dave, 107.96 inside of a minute in Philadelphia. Last time I checked, 107 plus 96 is greater than 200. So that game is going to go over the number. We've been toying with that number the entire time. We're down to 190 as a live total in Madison Square Garden, and we are just starting the second half in Memphis, where the Memphis Grizzlies hold a 1-point lead against the Dallas Mavericks, and they are now laying 2.5 points. You got to get them early. And you, just to recap here, you say the end of the first quarter is a time where you've seen, for lack of a better term, enough data points, a large enough sample size to go ahead and back that team that is supposed to come back. It looks like that's the case in Memphis. We saw it in Detroit, and it was the same thing there. We came on the air hour number 1 saying that we had faith that Detroit would come all the way back from what was, Dave, a 22-point deficit. And I know the Grizzlies were down by double digits as well. But what's double digits in this day and age in the NBA?
It's not the same as it used to be. Not with the threes and not with the way the rotations are. It's not enough. So that's the time, I think. Speaking of spreads, though, and we've done this so many times in the past on the show, I'm looking at the Bucks and the Raptors right now. And I'm just curious, at what point, do you want to take 26.5 in a NBA game? It's not enough. It's not enough to take the Raptors right now. I know we need a goal in Washington, and I'm trying to distract you, but can I interest you in laying 25.5?
No, you cannot. I am not touching that one, my friend.
It's going to be 30.
Touching that one.
It's
You're
going
right.
to be 30
it's gonna
here in
be
a little
blowout
bit.
central, but then all of a sudden they're going to, you're going to put Giannis in warm-up pants, and you're not going to see him anymore. I'm not touching that one. I am hoping for the goal from the Washington Capitals, and I'm hoping that the Knicks and the Magic stay under that total. I got it at under 201.5. I believe we told the people that one now, as we get into the early parts of the fourth quarter, is at 191.5. Here's what I want to ask you, Dave. We talked a little bit about Notre Dame and Penn State. You talked to me about Ohio State. You and I both think that they are playing the best out of the four teams remaining. And quite frankly, Sarkisian has something to worry about with those Texas Longhorns, who almost gave up the lead to Arizona State. I see that number at 5.5. Quite frankly, I know Texas has a good defense and all that, but I think Ohio State is going to put up another big number. I'll lay up to a touchdown with the Buckeyes. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think the only way Texas is winning this game is to make it a shootout. And I don't know if that's in their bag. Like, their defense is good. Their defense is going to get worn out if they are on the field too much. Like, what you saw in the Rose Bowl was a perfect game by Chip Kelly, a perfect game by Howard, a perfect game by everyone involved. You're not going to get that again, but I don't think you'll need that. I think them scoring enough is what? Low 30s? They put up 31. Texas isn't putting up 34 against this defense. They're just not. If they do, that's the only way I think they can win. They're not going to win a 16-13 game unless Ohio State has it. The back of your mind, I think, for the handicap is, can what happened in Michigan happen again?
I guess, but there's not the animosity, the rivalry there. The reason that happens, in my opinion, is because the Wolverines get up so much. I mean, although they did beat Alabama in the bowl game, Michigan, so kudos to them for finishing strong and all of that. But no, I think Ohio State, after that loss, I think they're playing their best football. I think they feel a little bit scorned that they weren't ranked higher, after their one loss to Oregon. So no, I believe that the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they are minus 120, I think, to win it all. I got to ask you something about this, though. I believe they need to tweak this slightly. You see how Boise State gets the bye. You saw how Arizona State got the bye. You see how all these teams who won in their home campus wound up winning. I understand that all those conferences and those conference champions belong, but then I think you just seed the whole field. Okay? I don't think they get the automatic bye. I think Arizona State, Boise, they should have been in the field, but in the field as the 10 and 11 seed, as opposed to getting the automatic bye. I think they deserve to participate, but not automatically get the bye and be seeded 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because you saw all these teams, Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, they were better teams. And I think that's the tweak that needs to happen.
It has to be done. I agree with you. I love the fact that there's 12 teams. I love the on-campus things, but it has to be tweaked. You can't have Boise State with a bye. It was fun while it lasted. Got to change it.
Listen, I also got the under on Ashton Genty's rushing yards against your Penn State Nittany Lions.
Nice.
I thought he was going to step up against a real defense. I love Genty and all, but I didn't think it was happening. We'll be right back.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in, everybody. In-game live rolls on a Monday night. Dane Martinez and my consigliere, Dave Sharapan, looking around the NBA. And we are looking around the NHL as well. And now that we have the goal horn, guess what? Yes, it is the Washington Capitals with 3 minutes left in the third period. They get their third goal of the game. They tie the game at 3. If you have been with us all show long, you know that we have been pining, waiting for the Washington Capitals to score that game and tie the game here. They are now minus 128 with a couple of minutes left. Dave, we wanted it to happen. It has happened. Now what do you think? What happens here? Because you just talked about it, right? The team in the NBA, the team trying to come on back. Maybe they blow their steam. I think it's a little different in the NHL. When you go to overtime, I think the cream rises to the top. I think we are in good position here for the Caps. They might even get another one here in the last 2 minutes. I am just hopeful that while I'm giving you this intro, that it doesn't lock on me, because remember, Buffalo scored right after Washington scored last time. And oh, what a shame it would be if that were to happen. But we're tied at 3 in Buffalo, Dave.
Yeah, this is a good thing. Our guy got his 18th goal of the season. It wasn't Ovechkin, but that's okay. I'd love nothing more to win this game in regulation. The thing with the NHL scoring system and the point system and everything is you get a point. We're just getting to overtime. And then after that, so Buffalo may be playing for the tie and getting the point, but I like our chances. If we're going to go 4-on-4, you give me Washington against Buffalo. I think we're better than a minus 130 favorite.
Okay.
My record in the shootouts isn't great. And, we got guys watching all over the country, up in Canada. My buddy, Mr. Anderson, is tweeting at us. Lauren's watching the show. He's big into the show. Let's get this one. We got Vinny on the button. Just if we get this clincher,
We'll see.
let us know quick.
If we get another goal, interrupt us because I know. Listen, because here's the thing:
well,
we're gonna have the
start
raging redhead,
Spanish,
Cam
that's
Stewart.
when I know. As soon as you start speaking Spanish, when I heard that in the
we're
break,
gonna have the raging redhead
what is
come
he
on.
saying?
And it's going to be hard to get a word in edgewise as soon as Cam joins the show. It's going to be hard for it to get in, but interrupt us with the, interrupt us with it if you need to be. By the way, we got UTS Steve at us on Twitter. Don't be, watch our guys, Spitting Speeds and the Sportsbook Consigliere right now on SportsGrid. We got Lauren in the building saying, what's up, that he loves my parlay. The only issue could be Philadelphia if there is no Jalen Hurts, talking about how does New England lose the number 1 overall pick. I mean, listen, I think the Raiders had the 1 pick, they won a game. The Giants had the 1 pick, they won a game. The Patriots have a 1 pick, they won a game. We'll talk about that a little bit later on at another time and place. There is one more wild card game, though, Dave, that I want to get your thoughts on, because honestly, I think this is going to be the most fun game of the weekend. I'm talking about Washington and Tampa Bay. I think Baker Mayfield and these Tampa Bay Bucks have been under-respected for a couple of years now. Baker is putting up big-time stats. I know, listen, the man won a road playoff game with the Cleveland Browns. Who else can you tell me in the last generation or two that's been able to do that? And you know what he never had in Cleveland? He never had Mike Evans on the outside. He never had a running back like this kid Bucky Irving, the rookie. I think Baker and the Bucks are another interesting play. But then on the other side, Dave, Jaden Daniels has taken the league by storm, looking like a combo of RG3 and Lamar Jackson, lanky, like stealthy, with ice in his veins, coming back left and right. I think this is going to be a great game. I see the total at 50.5. I think these teams will be able to put up points as well. Dave, what are the people in the desert saying about this one?
Well, it's the highest total of all the games, and you're the prop guy. If I'm your, consig for things, I love when we
Baker
do the shows
Mayfield
together,
over 1.5 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels over his rushing number, whatever it is. Bucky Irving over his rushing plus receiving in this one. And if I can get an anytime touchdown that's a little bit off the beaten path, give me Zach Ertz at the tight end position. He has been hot. Remember the contract incentives that he had to have listed. Dave, you tee him up, I'll knock him down. We need to build the SportsGrid book. I've got you. But this is going to be a fun one, in my opinion, right, Dave?
I think so. I think, it's teed up for the Sunday night, right? The national game at night with
Collinsworth is going to be like Collinsworth is going to be creaming on this one, back and forth. He's going to be in love with everything that goes down in this one. Are you kidding me? You need to turn this into a drinking game somehow, just based on however many times Collinsworth swoons over both Jaden Daniels and talks about the good old, I'm going to use toughness as the word he uses for Baker Mayfield, over 3.5 times.
He's gonna. Well, that's an automatic overplay, dump all in. I think the Daniels thing is interesting because for years and years and years, the play against a rookie quarterback making his first start on the road in the playoffs is an obvious play. But like you said, Jaden's different, and Washington has that team belief. They believe they can go anywhere and win a game. Why not Tampa? So I'm not surprised at the number's 3. I am surprised at the number of people going, I don't even need the 3. I'm just taking Washington on a money line. The disrespect is real as far as the betting eye, the betting public. You just saw Tampa struggle to win a game that they're supposed to just go
they needed to win,
smoke the Saints on Sunday, and they don't. Now, what you said with Evans, he has a big game, doesn't he? I think he has a really big game against that defense.
The only thing.
No? What?
Here's the only thing. In the middle of the season, the Washington Commanders, they made a trade for a player that hasn't played much for Washington. It is former New Orleans Saints cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, who, if you remember back in the day with the Saints, Lattimore and Evans absolutely hate each other. They literally have fisticuffs multiple times before when Lattimore was at the Saints. He is a shutdown corner and loves the opportunity to go against Mike Evans. So I think that one is going to be interesting. Here's what I think is also going to be interesting, Dave. You told me about Detroit in the NFC. I'm intrigued by Philadelphia as long as Hurts, and his medulla oblongata is okay and he can doesn't have a sensitivity to light anymore. Did you see the picture of Hurts giving the thumbs up to the ref? That looked like one of my friends at the bar saying that they could still drive home when they obviously could not. That's what it looked like. He's still in the protocol, so we'll see about that. If you put up the NFC bracket, whoever wins between Washington and Tampa is probably going to have to go to Philly. And let me tell you something. The Eagles have lost to both the Bucs and the Commanders so far this season. So that is really interesting to me. I like Philly. I think Philly is going to win the NFC, but I think that one is a very interesting matchup that the Eagles and big security Dom is not looking forward to. Here's what I wanted to ask you, though. You said you like the Detroit Lions to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I like Detroit. I really do. I think they're really banged up on defense, Dave. I think the loss of David Montgomery in the running game really hurts them. But what I want to ask you is, just like last year, when they were up on San Francisco and Dan Campbell's still going for it on fourth down, we see Dan Campbell go all the way to the extreme with these fourth downs. We see him go with the onside kick down by 10, but early in the fourth quarter against Buffalo, right? I think at some point, Dave, it's going to bite Dan Campbell in his hind parts that he keeps on, with the biting kneecaps culture. I love it. I know what he's doing there for the organization. I think it's great. But I think at some point in time, he is going to be too aggressive, and it's going to cost him a trip to the Super Bowl, Dave. How crazy am I?
I don't think you're crazy at all. And I think there's a lot of people that are saying it, not willing it into existence. But if it gets to that point, it very well could happen. My question is, I think Philly's the only team physically that will be able to go in Detroit and match them and win a game in Detroit. It's a two-game parlay, Dana. It's a two-game parlay. They got to win 2 games, and they're going to New Orleans.
I think they can outscore them. And when times get tough, give me the dual-threat quarterback to make plays. Jalen Hurts on one side, Lamar Jackson on the other. That's my Super Bowl. We'll talk about it with Cam when we come back.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Lottie Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in, everybody. In-Game Live rolls on a Monday. The spitting statistician Dane Martinez and my consigliere Dave Sharapan. We're looking good here. We're on the under in the Knicks Magic game. We got an under 201.5. Live total is at 193.5. We go to overtime with the Caps and the Sabres tied at 3. Remember, we had Washington down a goal at plus 160. We'll see if they can get on home. And the other thing, we had the Memphis Grizzlies when they were down to come on back, and they are now up 79-72. So they have a 7-point lead late in the third quarter. And now it is a great time to bring in my guy, the raging redhead Cam Stewart. You see him all over the place on this network. If the goal horn goes off, we will see what happens in overtime in Buffalo. But Cam, I know you're on Buffalo, but you don't want to be on that side at this point, right, Cam?
No, I don't, Dane. At the start of the game, when they're plus 135 and a desperate team, I'm like, sure. That's when you click Buffalo. Yeah. And then I hear you guys going, how do you not take Washington when they're down 1 goal to Buffalo? Buffalo has blown 4-goal leads this year, multiple 3-goal leads, and other trouble. I guess the bottom line is you bet overs in Sabre games because they'll find a way to score and give up tons of goals in the third period. Or bet like some people bet periods, their third period overs almost hit every night. They have a lead, they gag up the lead. It's very simple. So I can't tell you guys, like a very intelligent person, not a stooge, would take a team plus money against Buffalo in any situation. Gritty effort too, guys, by the Canadians. I see them in Vancouver. Yeah. They're locked up. They were down a couple of goals in that game, so that's interesting. And tonight, I will actually lay 1.5 with the New Jersey Devils on the ice. I know it's
that's
kind of
Joe did too.
It's a risky proposition, but let me tell you, it's a spot play for the Devils. They've been kind of in a rut. Seattle, a little bit overachieving. I think New Jersey has to go make a statement, and they haven't been good out west. I think they punch these guys in the face and win like a 4-2, 5-2 type of hockey game. So you know what? Yeah, you don't want to lay the 240 unless you have it parlayed, which I do with some other stuff too. But this college football game has been great too, guys. I love this Montana State, North Dakota State game. This is fantastic. Two of the best teams there, the legacy and pedigree of North Dakota State and Montana State undefeated this year. And this is football in Frisco, Texas, nice and cold. And it's been a great game. Good comeback. We got Montana State when they were down 8.5, but North Dakota State is driving. What a program they are. These guys year after year. Doesn't matter.
This is exactly what you could hope for
in
game. A playoff game, right? Like in a college football playoff. I got the Penn State stuff on because there's a big game. I don't know if you heard on Thursday. Yeah.
It's huge, Dave. It's a problem for me. It's a problem because you're a good guy with Penn State. I got a lot of, and then Carver, I do golf picks with him, his little Notre Dame tie. It's going to, hey, that's the problem with sports. It breaks up people at SportsGrid, like Dave and Buffalo Bill versus this guy and that guy. And everybody has their team. I don't have to worry because the Seahawks, okay, like that's the thing. I don't have feuds with anybody. I'm just like the United Nations. Peace, my friends. Don't worry about us. We just hit our wins total over and we'll be fine. But it's going to be
What's
fun.
Your lean? What's your lean for Thursday and Friday? What like? I know it's only Monday, but like Thursday, Orange Bowl, Friday, Cotton Bowl. Where are you thinking right now, Cam?
I don't want to take an under, but this Penn State Notre Dame game, like with these defenses, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and if they hit me on the over, shame on me. It's a low total, but I just see a game of punting and defense, an old school like fight. It's going to be like a absolute fight. And in the other game, you know what? Here's the deal. Ohio State probably is the best team, but I got to take excessive points with Texas. People remember what they saw last, and I'm going to actually take a shot with the Longhorns at 6 because I just think everybody remembers what they saw last. And I know Ohio State beat down Oregon in that game, and Texas didn't look very good. I was on Arizona State when we did the game with Ranieri. Hell, Dave, I had them like 23-1 money line when they're getting murdered in that game. No, I got out of it a little bit, and I told my girlfriend, I go, see, Gambler gave me a taste. I was going to let it ride and stuff. I go, if I just hedge out a little bit, I know me and Gabe talk about it. Nobody likes a gardener. Edward Scissorhands. No, I didn't like that film. You know what I mean? But I'm sitting there going, sometimes you got to trim the grass. I'd rather have some money in the bank than none. And that kicker Auburn with the Auburn hair missed the kick and overtime and craziness. And what a game. I got to tell you, this college playoff it's been exciting. But it also, Dane, if I told you and Dave at the end, it's kind of like where we are. The 4 teams are like blue bloods. It's one of those things that football is one of those sports we don't have the St. Peter's in the basketball tournament or a couple of these like sleeper teams like, George Mason getting deep. Like, the cream rises to the top. And the only dog that really had a chance was Arizona State, and they weren't really a dog because they won the Big 12 championship. So that's kind of interesting stuff,
And I like your under in that first game. Remember, Notre Dame really, it was the kickoff return at the beginning of the third quarter, the turnover they got deep in the territory at the end of the second quarter. That's what really flipped it for them. I want to get your thoughts here on Wild Card Weekend as well. I was talking about to people putting the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Bills in a 3-team money line parlay that you can get it around plus 125. I don't think any of those teams will not survive in advance. Are there any dogs on the card that you like? I think the Rams could win outright at home against Minnesota. I think Washington, Tampa is going to be a great game. You see anything you like here on Wild Card Weekend so far?
Wow, Dane, you're reading my mail. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, people, I just think the Rams are a live dog. I think Washington's a live dog. And I hate to say this, I think the Bills will win, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. It depends. Bo Nix is not looking like a rookie. Remember, he's older. He played a couple extra years at Oregon. So this kid, he's been around the block before, and Denver's really playing good football. But here's the one, Dave. Your team saved me by 3 in the hook at 2.5. You're like, just take money line. I'm like, thank God they lost by 2. I was at my buddy's house, like almost praying. I'm like, I got Pittsburgh here. Come on, Freiermuth. Dave, that is disrespectful to the Steelers. The Ravens are laying those kind of points. I'm sorry.
How many points are they going to score?
I don't care, Dave. They know this team inside out. And if Wilson didn't fumble the last time, they would have been in that game.
That's why I'm doing three-leg money line parlay. Yes. I agree with you. Buffalo, they're going to win. I don't know about them covering the number. Baltimore, they're going to win. I don't know about them covering the number. Philly, as long as Jalen Hurts is out of the blue tent, they'll be okay as well. These are big numbers, but they're going to put, on the money line, I think they'll be okay. So we'll see about that. Cam, you think what about Chargers Houston real quick? You think Houston's limping to the finish?
I think so, but I can tell you a lot of the money is going to be on the Chargers. If you like the Chargers, I think 3, 2.5. People like the Chargers, the line went down. That's very concerning to me, but I'm probably going to take the Chargers. I got to think about that one. I think Texans are overrated.
All right, fair enough. That's the Raging Redhead for you. Me and Dave, we wrap up an in-game live. When we come back, we'll see if we can get home with the Capitals.
They let the guy run the practice and leave the building, have a press conference, and then you fire him on a cell phone call while he's in the car. Shame on you, Sacramento. You haven't been good since Chris Webber, White Chocolate, Vlade Divac, Corliss Big Nasty Williamson, and obviously Rick Alleman as a coach. No one wonder why you've been a joke for the last quarter century.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, wrapping up here. We love our guy Cam Stewart, Dane Martinez, and Dave Sharapan here to wrap it up. And we are in a shootout in Buffalo, Dave. So we're going to have Carlson, who has taken the last shot here for the Capitals. Talk to me. Buffalo's already gone. They hit one of their three. Oh, he missed. We go to extra frames in the shootout, Dave. I have now way too much consternation on this one because Buffalo missed the first two, and I thought we were home free, but now we are going to extra frames in the shootout. This is a problem, man. I thought we were good to go.
Extra inning betting in baseball, golf betting period in game. You want to test your mettle a little bit, test your intestinal fortitude. Bet a hockey game and watch it in a shootout when you have one side. It'll really give you that little
they scored. Buffalo scored on the shootout. So now Washington has to score here in the shootout, or it's not going to come.
I don't want to watch.
We had Cam come over here talking about how it's definitely going to be one way. You did say that your shootout record has not been good. So we're going to have Washington. They must make their shootout goal here in order to extend this. We will see. I don't know. We also have, what do we also have? We have Knicks and Magic that are coming down to it here. We need that one to stay under the number. Oh, Dave, what are we going to see here? Oh, he missed it. He missed it. The Buffalo Sabres, in shootout fashion, will win this game. And there you go. Brutal. I think we had the right side here, though, Dave. I thought we had the right side. And just when you get into the shootout, it never works out for us, huh?
No, not for me. I you can't imagine how many times I lose a shootout like that. I knew if we were betting, I'd just say, you know what? And Cam said it, like his record in the shootout. You only remember the losses. I feel like I remember a lot of them. It just happens. Yeah. It's one of those random things. But the basketball's been good.
Yes, Memphis is
Pacers
up 10. So that's a good one for us.
The Bucks won by 24, which we talked about getting 30.
You were talking about it getting to 30. It was up to like 27 and a half. Last one to tip in the NBA, Miami at Sacramento against the Kings. You see Jimmy Butler going scorched earth on the Miami Heat, looking like he wants to be traded. He finds no joy anymore. It sounds like he's going to force his way out of Miami.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, the guys are making so much money, and then they can just dictate when the terms are over. They don't want to play anymore. I don't know. I mean, do you want them on the Knicks? Like, with that?
What I've heard is that Phoenix is a possible destination, getting Bradley Beal back the other way as they try to make a run. But we'll see. But that's what happens, right? And maybe I wouldn't want out of Miami, to be honest. Jimmy Butler wants out of Miami. I also hear that Tyreek Hill may want out of Miami. And if he goes somewhere else, that could be interesting for whoever lands him. And that could clear the way for, you talk about me as a fantasy guy, Jalen Waddle to become a number one wide receiver in Miami. So a lot of things we'll see. Coaches getting fired, draft picks getting solidified, a lot of stuff still left here on the NFL. But give me your best bet for Wild Card Weekend real quick. Oh, go ahead.
Can I ask you one question as my New York connection? Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
Is Aaron Rodgers done?
Yeah.
At the Jets. It's over, right? Like he's not
going to the darkness. He's going to go to the darkness, I think, and I think he's going to fade away. And I think ultimately what's going to wind up happening is Devontae Adams is going to go link up with his other best friend, his college teammate Carr, down in New Orleans is what I think is going to happen. And the Jets are going to need to reset the deck here. They're going to be hiring a new coach. They're going to have to get a new quarterback. It is starting from the bottom for the
Sam Darnold coming home?
Jets. No, I think Minnesota is going to offer him a contract. I don't think. You want my hot take on this? The bridge quarterback for the New York Jets next year is going to be Daniel Jones, coming right back to New York so he didn't have to sell his house or anything like that. And then they're going to draft the guy. Maybe a little Justin Fields action could be another way to do it. But they're starting pretty much from the beginning. It's a final, by the way, at Madison Square Garden, 103.94. So 197 is where it falls, under the live totals that we were talking about at the 200 level.
Impressive night from the Magic. Teams, for real. Team you have to really consider to be in a good spot.
And this is even
to win a
without
first-round
Banchero,
playoff
with
series,
both
right?
Wagner kids out, right? Yeah. They were good last year, and now you get a little bit more maturity. Orlando is a team we will watch, but listen, you need to watch everything that is here on the grid because it gets you money, it gets you smarter, it gets you sharper, as they say in the industry. So for my guy, the consigliere Dave Sharapan, I am merely the spitting statistician. You'll have Wetzel back in here giving you the black cloud and the opposite picks tomorrow. I'll be back soon enough in 2025, Dave. Great to chop it up with you as always. That's another edition of In Game Live.